said that a enormous black triangle came over top of his apartment complex right there in New London, Connecticut. And this was later on at night, but he could easily see the outline of it.
Mm-hmm.
Flew directly over his complex, and I drove out there. I was there like almost 3 days, 2.5 days, 3 days, interviewing people, and essentially the object flew over his apartment house, and it looked like it also was heading for the nuclear plant that was right there on the bay. So a lot of people don't realize it, but New London, Connecticut, that's where the General Dynamics Corporation is, and that's where they make the nuclear submarines.
Wow.
And it's also where the nuclear subpens are. And also the Coast Guard Academy. And in Groton, Connecticut, which is right across from New London, they have a large airport there with a control tower. And so to me, this would be an ideal place for UFOs to, investigate, essentially. I guess they're curious, too. And I think that's why MUFON wanted to send me out there to see if there was something to the story. So, like I said, I was out there and interviewed many people. I went to the police station and interviewed a policeman there. And I went to the local little newspaper there in New London. And it's funny, but the editor didn't even want to talk to me. She wanted nothing to do with me.
Wow.
Went to the control tower there at the New Groton, Connecticut there, and they wouldn't even let me in the door. They didn't want anything to do with me there. And a lot of the people that I interviewed, mostly it was guards. I figured interviewing the guards, the outside guards, if anyone would be seeing UFOs at nighttime or any time, would be them. So I interviewed a lot of them.
And did you get any?
Essentially, they told me nothing. They said that they weren't allowed to discuss things of that nature, and so it was a wash.
Wow.
I went there interviewing many people and really got nowhere. It was really just it was very strange to me. I just can't put my finger on it, but it was a strange deal all around. So I just classified it as unknown because that's why MUFON what they do is we can only classify cases as unknown. Because we don't know,
Sure.
we couldn't classify a case as identified alien craft or identified flying saucer.
Mm-hmm.
We're not allowed to do that. So all of the cases are essentially unknown with MUFON.
Let me ask you something. We hear a lot about disclosure, and there are those within the UFO community who believe that there's government conspiracy to suppress the information about UFOs. Therefore, the disclosure question comes into effect. As a senior investigator, should there be disclosure, and if so, why?
Well, at first I thought that it would be great. It's good to know the truth. We have to be told the truth. But on the other side of the coin, I think disclosure would probably do more harm than good. I mean, what good would it really do? Except, if the aliens were coming down and was going to help us medically and give us cures for diseases and all this and that, which is a different story. But quite frankly, I think religions will go upside down, and I think that people will. I don't think people would be able to handle it. I think a lot of them is going to jump out a window. And I just don't think people could be able to handle that because, quite frankly, the UFO community thinks that a lot of people know about MUFON and UFOs and all this and that, but a lot of people don't. Let's face it, there's 330 million people in the United States, and 1/10 of that would be 33 million. So if 33 million people, if they were into UFOs and they did know about MUFON and did know about sightings, and when you look at it that way, that's only 1/10 of the population. There's a lot of people out there who have never heard of MUFON. They don't want to hear about UFOs. They want nothing to do with it. They don't believe it. And I think if the president comes on the TV one Sunday and says that UFOs exist and aliens are visiting us, I think stock markets will crash, and, I just think it would do a lot of harm.
Why do you believe the media in general has ignored UFO sightings from all over the world. Why aren't UFOs getting the press that they used to get?
I think that the government has put a sequester on a lot of that. I think they basically have told these newspaper and news agencies, and I think all of these newscasters have been told to downplay it.
But isn't it possible?
Believe that
isn't it possible that the public just doesn't have any more interest in UFOs because there's no proof?
No, I don't think that's well. With all of the movies they have these days, and with all the alien and UFO movies and everything else that they have on TV and the movies, I think it's being promoted more than anything.
But you see,
we're slowly being brainwashed that these alien things exist, and people may not go crazy.
But on the other side, on the other side of the coin, Ken, there's a lot of movies on TV about strange and weird other things as well. There's a lot of science fiction movies, of time travel, this, that, and the other. And, of course, the people don't take them seriously because they know that it's entertainment. Is it possible that because of all the hype of UFOs, all the lack of evidence, that people are realizing, hey, it's entertainment and entertainment only. Therefore, the media says, well, you know what? If the story isn't interesting to the listeners, the readers, or the viewers, why carry it?
Yeah. Well, you could be perfectly right.
Yeah.
That's a good possibility there. That's for sure. And I don't know. It's really hard to say because I think we are getting more sightings. For some, I don't know, these people who come up with these figures that only 10% of the sightings are reported and only 2% of them are real. And I don't know where they come up with these crazy numbers, but quite frankly, I think we're getting more and more sightings every day. And I know MUFON has been getting more sightings. We were averaging 30 sightings a day, and now she's up to 50 or 60 a day. Now, this is worldwide, of course, but most of them are still in the United States. And like I said before, that I think people are just starting to come out of the closet and admit that they've seen something strange in the sky.
Tell me about alien abductions.
Well, I've had a couple cases with the alien abductions. As a matter of fact, we did some hypnosis sessions over at George Fowler's house in Medford. And I feel that they're the real thing. I mean, these hypnosis sessions were really incredible. How the people reacted and what they told us. I really couldn't see how you'd have to be one hell of an actor to be able to put on an act. That you were under hypnosis and coming up with what they're saying. It's
what are they saying?
I think it's a real thing, and I think that I think they're curious, and I think they're experimenting on us. They wonder what we are, what we're made of, and they're apparently they've been doing the same thing to a lot of cattle mutilations and horses, and I had a sighting down in Alloway Township in Bridgeton a few years ago, and we came to the conclusion that this humongous black triangle was essentially looking for horses and cattle.
Tell me what these people who undergo hypnosis, how do they explain or how do they describe their abduction experience?
Well, essentially, they describe it when they're under hypnosis as if they were really there, and it's really weird just to sit there and experience that. Depending on the kind of abduction, there was. But like I said, I was present on two of them. And MUFON has been up and down about the abduction. As a matter of fact, we have a licensed hypnotist here in New Jersey, one of my investigators up in North Jersey. He's he's a chief of police, and he's licensed hypnotist, and he's been trying to be approved by MUFON because it seems like one year MUFON says it's okay to hypnotize, and the next year you can't hypnotize, and I don't know. I don't think they've really made up their mind as to do they want to go that route, because quite frankly, I feel you really have to know what you're doing in order to hypnotize someone. And some of these people who want to be hypnotized because they think they were abducted, they may be opening Pandora's box and not realize it.
What do you think the aliens want from us? Do they pose a threat to national security?
No, I really don't think so. I think if they wanted to fry us, they could probably destroy this planet in a matter of seconds if they wanted to. But no, I think they're just curious. I think the universe is so large. People, it's funny. You're always hearing the scientists say that, oh, we can see 1/10 of the universe now with our Hubble, and I'm saying to myself, how in the hell could anyone come up with any kind of a number? 10% of the universe. I mean, what's they're basically saying there's an end to the universe, and quite frankly, I think there's 100 trillion Earth-like planets floating around just like ours. That's how big I think the universe is, and apparently some of these aliens have found a way to get from one place to another in a short period of time.
The people who have had alien abductions, do they have a common thread? Is there a common thread between their psychological profile? Is there a common thread between their social status? Is there anything that you can connect the dots with why they are being abducted?
Well, in the two cases we had here, their families were also involved. And it seemed that these abductions went back, to their childhoods and involved some of the family. So, in the two cases that I worked on, that was connected. I connected the dots on that one, and I'm sure I'm sure not all of them are like that, but I'm sure there's quite a few of them out there that where if someone thinks they were abducted a week ago, this person may have been abducted 20 or 30 times throughout their life.
Wow. Ken, stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. Exonation Ken Pfeifer is our special guest this hour. And Ken is the chief investigator for MUFON in New Jersey, and he's also a member of MUFON's STAR team. He has investigated a few hundred cases. He's also got some very interesting websites, and I'll give you two right now. www.worldufophotos.org and worldufophotosannews.org. And Ken Pfeifer and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue to you, the X Zone Nation around the world, from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written two outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com.